Hi everyone, my name is Miss Danielle and I am an art instructor for a place called the Dixon Gallery and Gardens. The Dixon Gallery is a really special art museum right here in Memphis. We have artwork that travels from all over the world to be shown there, and we also have a really beautiful garden space just outside the building. So today, before we get started with a really fun art project, I'm excited about it, I wanted you guys to get a chance to see inside the museum. So one of our docents, and a docent is a volunteer that works with the museum, is going to show you all a painting that's at the museum right now in our exhibition titled For America. So let's take a look at that and I'll meet you back here.
Welcome to the Dixon Gallery and Gardens in Memphis, Tennessee. My name is Phil and I'm one of the docents here at the Dixon. We're in the Plow Gallery with the exhibition For America. It's a selection of paintings from the National Academy of Design. And the painting we're going to look at now is by Henry Ossawa Tanner. He was an African-American artist born in 1859. His father was a preacher and later a bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. His mother had been enslaved earlier in her life, but she had already gained her freedom before Henry was born. He was born in Pittsburgh. When Henry was still a child, his family moved to Philadelphia. That's where he went to high school, and he was an excellent student. After high school, he knew he wanted to become an artist, and so he went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, and he had the opportunity to study with a famous artist and painter named Thomas Eakins. After several years at the Academy, Henry moved to Atlanta and opened a photography studio and also taught drawing at Clark College. But he knew he really wanted to go to Paris to continue his study of art. And so in 1891, he moved to Paris and continued studying there. And he became very successful in Paris. In fact, in 1896, his painting of Daniel in the Lion's Den won an honorable mention in the Paris Salon. And the following year, 1897, his painting of the Raising of Lazarus won a third-place medal and was eventually bought by the French government. The painting we're looking at here is called The Miraculous Hall of Fishes, and it's based on a story in the Gospel of Luke where Jesus gets into a boat with some of his disciples. They go out on the Sea of Galilee, and Jesus tells them to cast their nets into the sea for a catch. Peter says, "Well, we've been fishing all night. It won't do any good, but if you insist, we'll try it anyway." And when they throw the nets in, they catch so many fish, they can barely pull the nets into the boat. And here in the painting, you see two men struggling to pull the nets in. They're so heavy with fish. And the boat is almost capsizing. It's leaning so far over because of the weight of all the fish in the net. And you see four men in the background leaning back to try to balance the boat. And if you look carefully up here, one of the oars is completely out of the water because it's tipped up so far. The jumping and the splashing of the fish is portrayed here in the foreground with a thick impasto. That means a very thick layer of paint that adds depth and perspective to the painting. And so we see that here in the foreground. And notice the whole painting is kind of covered with a white, bluish, almost otherworldly light. Tanner could paint landscapes. He painted some wonderful scenes of African-American family life. But in the late 1890s, he determined he was going to focus on paintings of biblical scenes like this one. And he was able to go to the Bible lands and see Egypt, Palestine, and some of the places he painted. And that gave his paintings even more life. We even have one of his cityscapes in our permanent collection here at the Dixon. but this is a wonderful example of the mature work of Henry Ossawa Tanner, and I hope you get a chance to come to the Dixon and see it for yourself.
All right, that was so great. I love learning about new art. How about y'all? Today we are going to do a fun art project, but also kind of an experiment based off of this idea of filling a boat with lots and lots of fish.
We're going to make our own sailboat and take it fishing, see how many fish it can hold. For our project today, we will need some aluminum foil. This is the material we will use to make the boat. Then we'll need some loose paper to create a sail and a straw for a mast to hold that sail up. If you have a stick like a bamboo skewer or just a stick from outside, that will work too. A straw is just kind of easy if you have it lying around. We also need some drawing materials to decorate our sail, make it unique. Some scissors. And we will also need some tape. And lastly, for my fish, I have some loose change and some dried beans. If you don't have either of these items, try to think of something else small that you have a lot of that you can use instead. First thing I'm going to do is lay out my foil and think about how to build my boat. I need to think about how to make it float, how to make sure it doesn't wobble over to the side and fill with water, and how to make sure it's strong. The way you go about making your boat is completely up to you. You may have a really great idea that I've never seen before. So is your boat going to look like mine? Probably not. This project is all about experimenting and trying new things. There are no right or wrong answers. Once you've finished building your boat, see if it floats in the water. If it doesn't float, use what you learned the first time and try again. Now that I feel pretty happy with my boat, I'm going to work on my sail. So let's get out that sheet of paper and decorate it however you like. You can see that I've decided to make mine a triangle shape, but if you have another idea, that's totally fine too. Get creative with it. Now it's time to use those scissors and cut it out. I decided to decorate the back of that triangle too, make sure it's stylish on both sides. Now it's time to put all the pieces together. I'm going to use my tape to put together my sail and my mast, and then all I have to do is bend the bottom of my straw and I can tape that into the center of the boat as well. If you are using a stick or a dowel of some kind instead of a straw, maybe get the help of a grown-up to use some hot glue and put that inside. Or maybe you can engineer a whole other way to attach it. Who knows? And here the experiment begins. Let's see how strong my boat is. I'm going to put in my fish one at a time to make sure the boat can hold the weight. Let's see how long it can last before it starts to sink. My boat has been pretty strong so far, so I'm going to really push those limits and see if I can add lots and lots of fish. Finally, the weight of the fishes was too much for my boat and it sank to the bottom of the container. It took a while for water to fill inside, but after I left it for just a couple minutes, you can see it really took to that water.
That was so much fun making our boats today. I hope that you had as much fun as I did. Once you are all done filling up your boat with fish, and once it has started to sink, take it out. Count how many fish you were able to haul in your boat. See how strong it was. And use what you've learned from this first one. Try to make another one. See if you can make it even stronger next time. It's so much fun to try over and over again and learn new things each time you do it.
If you're proud of what you made today, you can share it with us using the hashtag DixonAtHome or Discover the Dixon. We would love to see what you created.